This is season 2 of the Off-Grid Wilderness Trapline series. It documents a full trapping season from our off-grid cabin in northern Maine. This documentary series is for educational purposes only. Tune in every night for new episodes from season 2, The Trapline.
Well, good morning. Sun's just about coming up. We are setting traps again today, setting boxes. If I was a lobsterman, I'd call these things poverty boxes. I got a truck full. Let me see if I can show you. Yeah, there you go. We got a truck full of boxes. I always thought it was funny when lobstermen called their lobster traps poverty boxes. They'd say, I'm going to check poverty boxes. So today we're going to set poverty boxes. It's what I love to do, you know, and it's a choice. I always got a kick out of that with lobstermen. Lobstermen, you know, I've helped out a few times, and man, it's a tough job, but it's super rewarding, and you know, they get to be their own boss and choose the days they work, and it's pretty awesome. We got an incredible lobstering industry in Maine. And if you think about it, it's not too much different than fur trapping. They're just crustacean trapping. But I had a buddy who was a lobsterman, and I had another buddy who, they got into an argument one day, and he said to him, he said, listen, I don't want to hear you complaining. All you do is you go around and you pick up stuff for free and you sell it. And I got such a kick out of that. And that lobsterman got so upset because he started talking about the cost of bait and the cost of fuel and licenses and rope and traps and all the costs involved. But my buddy wasn't wrong, you know, when he said all you do is pick stuff up for free and then you sell it. I thought that was the funniest way to look at something differently. I always get a kick out of looking at things differently. But anyway, if you want to tick off a lobsterman, just tell them that. Say all you do is go around, pick up stuff for free and sell it. Today, I think we're going to start out in some familiar places where I trapped last year and had some success. And we're going to move into some new areas. I'm always looking for new areas. I'm actually losing areas quicker than I'm gaining them. So it's really important that I try to find new areas and find good areas and find better areas to trap, because you never know when that gigantic logging company is going to come out and just decimate an area and spray it with chemicals and wipe it out and not let the woods come back there. Just plant one type of tree, mono farming. But should be a fun day today. We're getting a little bit of snow tonight, overnight, I heard. I don't know if it's going to stick or not, but today for the day we're looking at below freezing with heavy wet air, so it feels colder than it is. I'd left my pants outside last night because they're my pants could probably walk into a trap right now. They're so gamey. I've been wearing the same pants since day one of setting traps, and I wipe my hands on them, I wipe stuff on them. So I decided, for David Ames' sake, last night to leave those outside. So they didn't really dry out or warm up much, but my boots are dry, so it's gonna be a good day, guys. Come along. All right, first set of the day. I'm in some pretty good fisher woods right here. I caught a fisher here last year, and I actually missed a fisher here last year in a 220 box. This one I'm gonna set is a 120 Belisle Magnum. Right there, you can see how I got the triggers bent. They're kind of bent backwards away from the animal, and they're opened up a little bit too, so hopefully that's pretty inviting. I have a partridge carcass wired into the back of this box. This box just has the wood back and it doesn't have the wire on it. And then on the front of this box I have a 4-inch triangle. I mean a 4-inch diamond. We're only allowed a 4-inch hole here in Maine, so it excludes a lot of good size fisher. It excludes most of the male fisher. And the reason we do that is so we don't catch lynx kittens, which aren't kittens, in November and December. So I don't know why it's such a small hole, but they're pretty much fisher exclusion devices for big fisher. And it turns out we're trying to save lynx, but the research is showing that fisher are killing lynx, and the big males are the ones killing lynx. So let me see if that makes sense to you. We're not allowed to catch lynx because they're federally threatened. They crossed a border, even though they're not a threatened species. They're listed as one, and fisher and big male fisher are killing lynx. So we've enacted boxes that won't catch big male fishers. So they're actually killing the lynx, but we can't catch the big male fishers. Something's just not adding up here. But maybe you guys can help make that make sense to me. But anyway, we're trying our best to catch fishers. We'll still catch fisher. We catch a lot more female fisher, which I don't know what that's going to do to the species. There's not many species where we target the females. Most species that we hunt or trap for, we target the males. But I'm just a dumb trapper. I don't know. Trying to use common sense. But we're going to make this set. Try to get ahead of this fisher. Trying to get ahead of all these fisher, because up here in the North Maine woods, they make about a 30-day loop in their territories. At least the males do. I haven't noticed much difference on the female. But one thing that these boxes have allowed us to do is we're allowed to set on the ground with them. Anytime you can set on the ground, I try to, unless I know that there's big snow coming. Then I try to get off the ground and keep the trap out of the big snow for as long as I can. Always remember to take your safeties off when you're setting for animals. The Belisle safeties are really unique because they can actually stand up any way, any direction you put them. They don't just flop with gravity. So I open those up and leave them open like that. All right, we're set. We are set. We're ready for fisher. We might pick up a marten or a weasel, but this one I'm kind of really hoping for a fisher. There it is. We're in a nice little buffer and a cedar crossing. We're not far from clear cuts, which kind of makes this woods even more valuable to the fisher and to the crossing, because otherwise there's like a couple miles of clear cuts opening. About to set this fisher trap, and I'm just about to go in the woods, and I just saw a partridge get away from me. So back to the truck, get the shotgun, and get loaded up. Don't know where he just went, but I could hear him skedaddling. Get you guys set up on muzzle cam. Not sure how many there were. Dang it. All right, one just flew. There it is. Got him. There might be some more here. Hit that one pretty good. He was getting ready to fly. But there he is. See if there's any more. That little whistling trick works pretty well, guys. That gave up his position. Well, there he is. Dusted pretty good. I tried to shoot a little high on him, but we got one. I haven't been getting many partridge in the roads. They've mostly been from getting ready to put traps in, walking in the woods and seeing them there. All right, back to trapping. We'll take that. That's more food to eat and need every carcass we can get. But I'm setting up this Fisher pretty close to my last trap. This will be the closest that I've set. It's just a major travel way and it's really hard to pinpoint exactly where he's going to cross. So I want to kind of get it covered up because it's also a major logging road through here and other trappers are going to find this spot too. It's an obvious spot, but I know that there's Fisher coming through from last year, and checking even after the season in the snow, there was a Fisher that came back through. So this will be the most dense that I set traps. A lot of people ask at home, you know, hey, how far do you set your traps? Well, it's totally different. Generally, I mean, if you're setting up a log road system, a mile apart isn't a bad distance to set. You know, I knew one guy who set pretty much every mile marker, and he had a pretty successful Marten and Fisher trap line. So a mile isn't too far. It's not too close either, but I'm really setting depending on the habitat and the terrain, you know, and if I think it's a money spot where, you know, Marten and Fisher and in numbers are going to travel, I'm going to get a couple sets there or set it pretty densely. If it's just one spot where I think one trap will handle it over the course of a couple weeks and I'm also not going to have a lot of competition, then you can get away with one trap there, and it might be one every 5 miles or something like that. Try to find that fine line where it makes it worth it to drive 5 miles to check one trap, or is it, you know, 2 traps on the way, or keep them honest in one spot and set your money spot too. So setting traps is, you know, and finding that's going to be unique to the territory. If that helps answer that question for you guys that are trapping at home or wondering, you know, how densely or where I set traps or why I set traps. Oh, we got a Gorby came in. I thought that whistling brought him in. Gorby! All right, got another set in for this Fisher run here. I'm trying to get ahead of those Fisher just because it's just such a long time before they get back. So if you know where Fisher are or where they travel and the travel routes, try to get ahead of them as soon as you can in the season. There's spots that I'm trying to save for later in the season for Marten that are going to be by snowmobile from camp and closer to home. But if there's Fisher runs, you want to get those set up pretty quick because you might only get one shot at them, maybe 1.5, and at the most you might get 2 shots at them for the whole year. So this is 2 really close traps going for this Fisher, or 2 that might come through this run. As far as ground or tree or lean and pull sets, I always set lean and pull sets in the past because we had 220s and you had to be 4 foot off the ground or snow level. Last year I probably did a little bit better for Fisher right on the ground or closer to ground level. You know, they hunt in trees, they can climb trees, they're awesome up in trees, but I think they do most of their hunting and spend most of their life on the ground. So I've done a little bit better for them there. So one thing I've mentioned on the channel before, but I got a lot of new viewers and a lot of you guys haven't seen this or heard this before, but one thing I do, like this morning, it's 28 degrees. I got a little bit of a chill. You know, my pants are still a little bit wet from yesterday. I didn't bring them in to dry them out. And I know I'm going to be in and out of the truck a lot today. And to fight that chill and to make sure I'm not cold all day or get soft, I don't run heat in the truck for the most part until at least the end of the day on the ride home, when it doesn't matter anymore. But the way I see it is if my truck was nice and warm and I was jumping in and out of it often, I'm gonna get cold every time I'm out of the truck, and I'll be warm or feeling good every time I'm in the truck. And to me, that makes it kind of cold and miserable when you're out of the truck and working and setting traps or hunting or fishing or whatever. So for the most part, it's very rare that I run any heat other than just base level adequate heat in the truck. And I know a lot of my friends are always cold in the winter or in the fall or when they go outside, and I'm pretty much guessing that they're running heat pretty hot in their truck. They're keeping their truck 70 to 80 degrees with the heat constantly blowing on them, and then your body gets used to that and it's not used to the cold. So I try to do the opposite, where I get used to the cold and then I don't get cold, you know. So a lot of people ask me about that, and just a little hack that I use to try to get ahead of the cold. And you know, like right now I got a slight chill, but I'm gonna fight it and get ahead of it, and I guarantee you within an hour or so I'll be feeling way better and I won't be cold at all day. And the funny thing about that is I actually had to learn that the hard way. Is the first couple trucks that I owned, you know, they were $500 beaters that I had all I could do just to keep them running, and got me out in the field trapping, and they were actually my everyday trucks too, but they didn't have heat, and I never got cold. I just never ever got cold when I was trapping or hunting or ice fishing, because I always dressed appropriately for inside or outside the truck, which was the same, and I never felt the warmth, so I never knew what cold was. And then I finally got a truck that had heat in it, and I started noticing I was getting cold, like on the Trapline, and it dawned on me that, you know, the truck was too warm and too nice and too comfortable, and every time I left it I'd get cold and then heat up, get cold, heat up, get cold. So that's kind of how I learned that, and it's served me pretty well. All right, I'm back in my puddle spot from last year, if you guys remember that, and kind of filled in a little bit, so I don't have my shovel with me, but you could do it with your boot, the old boot shovel, then just let the water do the rest. She's flowing now. Oh yeah, there she goes. I think some leaves and debris and some clay kind of blocked up the trench I dug last year. But now she's flowing. There's the culvert over there. Ain't really doing much work. It's not a big deal driving through these puddles until they freeze over with about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of ice. Actually about 2 to 4 inches ice, because then if you break through, it's really hard to get back on top, and you got to be able to break the whole puddle. So that's where it gets a little bit messy, but we're probably a month away from that. I'm going to try to drain these deep puddles so I don't have to get myself into that situation. I got to remember tonight to throw the shovel on the roof again, and maybe throw an axe in the truck. I got the power axe in there, the chainsaw, but I'm a big fan of the regular axe. Now she's flowing pretty good. World needs ditch diggers too. Well, we're gonna let gravity do its thing from here on out. Next time I come through, hopefully she's a little bit lower. All right, back on the trap line. I just set up a pretty cool spot. I should have brought the GoPro in. I don't know why I didn't, but kind of a spot. It's a spot where I caught a fisher last year in the area, but not the same spot. And I walked down an old tote trail road, and it's all grown in pretty tight, and there were 2 buck scrapes on it. So first scrapes I've seen this year, and starting to see a little bit of buck signs. Kind of cool. So I set up a trail camera on it for you guys, and I put the box right next to the scrape, so that buck is gonna be furious when he smells that skunk and sees that box in there. We'll see what he does, but he'll probably make a big ground scrape, or I don't know what he's gonna do, but it'll be cool, and pretty good chance to catch a fisher and a marten or a weasel over there. All right, I got this road system set up, and I forgot I was on odometer watch today, so we were getting pretty close. I don't want to miss this thing when she rolls, because it's a pretty big number. Right now we're at 399,952. So according to my math, that's 48 more miles and we're going to be rolling. It's quite a milestone. But I get so focused on trapping I forget about that stuff. So I got to think right now if I want to try to find some new area, some new country, or go set up an area I set up last year and kind of expand on that and make it a little bit bigger area this year. All right, we got a connie pan on this one. This is just a homemade connie pan I made out of plastic perforated board, similar to what you'd see on a political sign. But we're gonna set that in this box here. This was probably my favorite spot last year that I trapped, regardless of what I caught here. I ended up doing extremely well here on Marten. But yeah, there's that pan right there. So that trap's gonna go in upside down, and they're gonna step on that pan hopefully and trip the trigger. So we'll pop the safeties off. But yeah, if you guys probably remember this trap from last year, if you followed along on season 1, this was the one where I had to cross 2 streams to get to it. But I'm gonna try connie pan this year in here on a Belisle 120. I picked up Marten here last year. I did not get any fisher, so maybe since I caught a few Marten here last year, maybe some fisher will come through. I don't know. Never know how that's gonna work out. Even though I always attached my trap to the box, which, you know, 30 pounds or so, anywhere from 20 to 40 pound box. That's not legal this year, so we have to attach them to a tree. We have to attach to a secured tree and I got like aircraft cable there. But there's the set right there. We got partridge in the back. Oh, my leg just cramped up. That's not good. I gotta drink some water. But yeah, this is a pretty cool spot right here. Got 2 beautiful mountain streams coming together right here. Crystal clear water. I usually see brook trout in that when I cross it. And got a nice, super hard, high hardwood ridge over here. Some softwood. It's picture perfect. It's a decent little walk to get in here, but it's worth it every single time. Whether you catch something or not, it's just a beautiful spot on the planet that I've always really appreciated, and I'm grateful that it exists. It's a really fun spot to trap. Hopefully we get something going there. Last year I had it up on a tree, like a leaning pole tree, and this year I'm gonna try it on the ground, maybe a little closer to the stream. We'll see what happens. This is something I want to show you guys. So this is a deep bend, and it's an undercut bank. That's where brook trout live. That's where they hide. That's where they feed. So if you ever hear me talk about blowing the banks out of trout streams with the current wood practices, that's what I mean right there. So that beautiful, clear, clean water that's with that bank, that undercut bank where they can get in the shade. It's colder water, good ambush spot. It's a great spot to catch brook trout if you're ever trying to catch them, is under those undercut banks. If you could drift a fly or a worm down underneath to them, that's where they generally live. When they clear cut and wipe out all the underbrush and stumps and everything, then when it rains and the snow melt and everything adds up, then that water just comes ripping through, just like you'd expect when there's too much water coming all at once, and it'll take that bend right out of the river, and then the trout don't have anywhere to live, and then takes the next bend out, and it just keeps adding up till it's just a straight wash, basically. With those big bends in the river, you get a lot slower water and deeper water, and it forms natural pockets in the streams like this and that. And anytime you can get meandering streams, it's way better for the fishing game. Hopefully we make a catch there. Day's going really well. I moved over to a new area that different than I was trapping earlier, to an area that I'd trapped last year, and I'm finding a couple spots I definitely missed as I explore a little bit more. Last year I missed them, so hopefully we make some new catches this year in some of the newer areas in the old spots. Getting a little bit lower on boxes, still got quite a few in there. To me, it's not about how many I get out, it's how many good ones I get out. But we'll give you an odometer watch update. We're looking at a lot of 9s in there. 3, 9, 9, 9, 7, 8, about to be 7, 9. So we're getting there. We are getting there. We might hit the big 400,000 today. I think even if I went straight back to camp, I think we'd still hit it. That's how far I am from camp. So yeah, we're gonna hit it today. Just a matter of when and where, and if I can remember to keep an eye on it. It'd be cool if I can video when it actually rolls, you know, for myself and for you guys too. You don't get a chance to see that 400,000 very often. All right guys, here it is. Here's the set overlooking this massive stream and cedar grove. I got a trail camera set up this time on it this year, but this is the only set I had last year where I was just truly baffled and did not make a catch. We caught a lot of fur last year in a lot of different areas, and you know, we had spots where we didn't catch fur too, but this spot out of all of them was by far the best looking spot. It was textbook Marten and Fisher, like textbook. If 10 Marten or Fisher trappers came through this area, all 10 would stop here and make a set here. It's just, it is the pinch point. There's a really nice stream flowing through it. Got a cedar grove, got softwood next to it, and then you got a hardwood ridge there and a hardwood ridge there. You couldn't ask for anything else. I made catches on this road system further up and further down, but nothing really close to this. And I think I might have had one miss all year here. I can't even remember if I even had a miss, but I was just baffled every time that I checked that trap and didn't catch anything. And then I literally lost sleep over this set, you know, over the course of after the season, wondering like, how did I not catch something there? What was going on? I know I had it all to myself too. You know, if there were other trappers around, I could just as easily say, well, somebody snapped one there. You know, they caught the fur there, or they you know, they caught everything before me, but I had it to myself and everything. So I still can't fully explain it. The only thing I could think of is maybe it's owned by like a big fisher or two, and he came and visited the box several times and just couldn't get in because of that small hole. I ended up pulling it before we got really good winter snow, so I couldn't tell with tracks, and I didn't come in here late in the season to check and see, but those were the only things I could think of. Now, last year I was setting the low ground in that cedar, in like a bend on that stream, and this year I'm setting on the high ground. I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. I think with good long distance call, you're going to catch that fur up or down, but probably have a little bit better chance of getting that scent out there on the high ground rather than the low ground. But yeah, that's the only thing I could think of is maybe it was visited a bunch by a big fisher and he just couldn't get in, so he gave up. So this year I got the trail camera on it, and we'll see what happens. Maybe this year will be different. Oh my word. She just rolled. That is crazy. Look where I am. I'm at my camp, right in the dooryard. That's wild. Lot of miles. This truck is a 2011. I got it in 2015 with under 30,000 miles on it. So that's 370,000 miles in 10 years. Under 10 years. That's a lot of miles per year. A lot of hard miles. A lot of towing boats across the country and towing lumber, towing snowmobiles and gravel, you name it. And then a lot of miles on the Trapline, just pounding this thing. None of those miles were babied, I promise you that. I think I'm going to sit and reflect for a couple minutes on all the people that have shared it with me, those miles, and the places I've been, and the people I've known. Some of them aren't with us anymore. That's wild. I think I'd love to hear from you guys if you got to spend any time, any of these miles you were with me on those, or if you followed along and saw the truck on the Trapline, or when I fished the tour, or when I went across country. Or I'd like to hear any involvement you've had with those miles too. I can't believe it rolled right there. That's absolutely amazing. Crazy. All right, I'm back. The truck is loaded up for another big day of setting tomorrow. Had a Marten visit again today of that stump on the log, and he loves raw eggs. Likes them even more than mice. But we're not eating raw eggs tonight, Dave. What are we eating tonight?
Beans and hot dogs and homemade pickles and homemade pickle beets. And
Dave makes the best homemade pickles and zucchini relish. Holy crap, that's a big hot dog.
those are Omaha steak hot dogs. My daughter gave me a whole big
Omaha
steak package for my birthday, my 80th birthday, and steaks and chops and tenderloin burgers, and it was stuff is great. And look at the size of those hot dogs.
They're huge. So I'll let you tell the folks in case they missed, but who won the cribbage last night?
I got revenge last night.
Yeah, I think we played 4 games or 5.
Game.
And I think I only won
one, and I skunked you once and beat you twice. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens tonight.
And the one I won, I just barely won. And then he pegged out on 2 though, so it was. We had some good close games, but we'll play again tonight. We're gonna drive this food into us. I got some stuff set on the log. I got a cookie, an oatmeal cream pie cookie. I got 2 pig's ears that we had for dogs that didn't get eaten, that are nailed to the stump. And I just threw some partridge like shavings off, stuff like that. So that's on the stump for tonight, in case the coons come back. I might put some candy out there and see how the Marten likes the candy, but he's starting to get a little choosy. He picked that mouse up, what, 3 or 4 times, Dave?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he didn't want that mouse.
He ate first, though.
Yeah, he ate 3 freaking eggs. And he carries them so gingerly. I wonder if he's got a nest and he's sitting on them. I don't know. I doubt it.